Welcome to r/best of Redditor updates, where this man sadly finds out at the age of 52 that 4 out of his 5 children are not his. This was originally posted back in 2019 on r/relationship advice and has a couple of key updates, but overall it is an incredible story. Without further ado, drop a like on this one if you're excited for it. Here we go. I am a 52-year-old man, and I just found out at least 4 of my 5 children, who are 33, 30, 28, 24, and 14 years old, 4 girls and 1 boy, are not mine. My wife won't say anything. A quick note before we get into this. Please do not use ancestry kits as a paternity test. If you genuinely want to check your child is your own, get a proper paternity test at your local medical lab. Ancestry tests are not accurate and should not be used to test paternity. In my case, it simply raised the alarm to get a proper test. I apologize if this is not an appropriate sub to ask. I posted this on r/relationships, but it was locked, and the mod suggested I ask on r/parenting. But I also want relationship advice on how to deal with my wife, so I want to ask for advice here too. Remember guys, this was originally posted in 2019 on r/relationship advice. First of all, I'm sorry if this ends up being long and rambly. I'm not really in the best state of mind. My world has been turned upside down over the last couple of weeks. I just want to write as much context as possible so I can get the best advice needed. For obvious reasons, I'm not yet comfortable talking about this with my friends, parents, or siblings. So, some background. I met my wife when we were in high school and we married in college. We have 5 beautiful children together. Really, I consider them a total blessing regardless of what I'm about to bring up. And up until a couple of weeks ago, I thought that we had the perfect marriage. We were typical high school sweethearts. We go out together, we never fight. I feel like I've done everything a loving husband should do. I'm saying this not to make myself out as the perfect husband. For example, my work has always meant I work long hours and maybe haven't always been there when she needed me. But I want to stress that I've never felt our marriage was in any trouble. And never in a million years would I have ever suspected my wife of being disloyal. She's always done everything she could to support me and take care of our children. Now, my eldest daughter recently had an ancestry test done, and the results of the ancestry test strongly suggested I was not her father. She confided this to me privately, showing me the results, and I could tell she was visibly upset by this. Of course, the first thing I did was reassure her that no matter what, she is my daughter and I'll always love her unconditionally. But secondly, the two of us decided to get an official paternity test since the ancestry tests are not completely reliable. It comes back, and I am indeed not her biological father. This news really broke me. I'm ashamed to say I broke down in tears in front of my daughter. The combination of finding out about my wife's infidelity and how upset I was making my daughter by how I was reacting. I really wish I'd kept it in for her sake, but I didn't. Following this, I asked my other children, except my youngest, to come and see me. I wanted to know the extent of my wife's infidelity. If it was a one-off, I could maybe work past it, especially given how long ago it would have been. However, I didn't want to tell my youngest as she is still in school, a teenager, and really I didn't think it was appropriate to tell her yet. Remember, she is 14. We tell the other 3 what has happened. I reassure them that I love them unconditionally and that I'll always be their dad, but that I need to know how long this has been going on. God, I can't begin to explain how touching their reaction was. They didn't care that I wasn't their biological father. They were just upset at how heartbroken I was. I feel like the only thing that has kept me going these last couple of weeks is their unwavering support. So we have paternity tests for each of the 3 done. Not only are none of them my biological children, together 4 of my children have 3 different fathers, which somehow made it worse. It's like she wasn't just having an ongoing affair, she was having multiple? I can't explain how this makes it worse, but it just does. So, I confront my wife with this, expecting her to confess and beg for forgiveness. She doesn't confess. She doesn't even take it seriously. She says the tests must be flawed. All 4? How the heck am I supposed to take that seriously? I keep bringing it up and she keeps brushing it off, getting progressively more annoyed at me. When I bring it up, she will try and guilt trip me. We've been together since high school. Do you seriously not trust me? Etc. But how am I supposed to trust her in the face of such overwhelming evidence? Now that I've rambled and explained what has happened, I guess let me ask a few direct questions for advice. How can I reassure my children that this doesn't change anything between us? I feel like the way I've reacted, total breakdowns, has made them second guess this, despite however many times I reassure them. How do I handle my youngest daughter? I feel like our marriage is beyond saving, and I will need to tell my daughter something. I don't want her to know the truth until she's older, but I also don't want my wife lying and making me out to be the villain. Is there any way at all you think I could or should save my marriage? I've been with my wife my entire life. It's almost impossible to see a life without her. I know that the answer should be a clear-cut leave her, but we have 5 kids together. If there's anything that can be done to save our marriage, I want to consider it seriously. Okay, wow, what a start to this one. Imagine being in this position. You're 52 years old. It's not as if, you know, you're 22 and you realize that your wife's been cheating on you or your girlfriend's been cheating on you and you find out that your firstborn isn't actually your child. Not saying that's any less bad, of course, but these kids are all adults now, apart from your young 14-year-old. I mean, your eldest is 33. You've been with her, obviously, for 33 years of her life, and now you're finding out that she's actually not your child? Unbelievable. And then you have your wife just clearly denying it, and it's 3 men? Not just 1, 2, 3 men. And she's just saying, oh, come on, what a load of rubbish. Oh, goodness me, I don't know how you've dealt with this. To be honest, I'm compelled now to see what the updates are gonna hold. But as for advice right now, all I would say is get another set of tests. I mean, you've got to make sure 100% that this definitely is the case, that you are definitely not the father. I know you've already done a set of paternity tests, but go through another company, right? You need to 1000% make sure this is right before potentially, you know, just destroying this family with what's about to happen. Just make sure that is right, for starters. And then secondly, if it is, I'm sorry, but I don't know how you could possibly continue on with this relationship and this marriage. Someone that's lied to you for, what, 3 decades minimum? It's crazy. Unbelievable. Guys, if you've got any initial advice for OP, get in the comments down below. Is there anything we can do to salvage this? Now, back in 2019, a lot of people on r/relationship advice did, of course, have some very good advice for OP. Let's get into that. OP says, thanks so much to everyone for all the support and advice. I've not replied to as many comments as I should have, but I've read each and every one and taken your advice to heart. I'll continue reading any comments or messages you send me. Again, I can't begin to thank you for all your support. If this is resolved, I might post an update, but if she continues to lie, then I don't think I'll bother, as there's not much more I can add. Spoiler alert, we have some updates coming, guys. Don't worry. Anyway, from the advice in this subreddit and the r/parenting thread, I've decided to 1. Get second tests just in case some freak accident has occurred. Good, I mean, that is exactly what I suggested. I am the Oracle. There we go. But yeah, as I said, that has to happen. It would only be a freak accident that could possibly result in this. As I said, it's a 99% chance minimum that the results are conclusive and are correct, but you have to do it anyway. 2. Confront my wife with all 4 of my older children present. 3. Tell my youngest of the situation. Ask her if she wants to have a paternity test. It will be entirely her decision. 4. I'm 100% going to get some form of therapy. My mental state has really been deteriorating over the last couple of weeks, and I owe it to my kids to hold it together. I mean, yeah, fair enough, but also you have to cut yourself some slack. I cannot imagine the effect it would have on me hearing this news. So yeah, absolutely get some therapy, but also allow yourself to feel awful, because it would be strange if you didn't. Number 5, depending on whether my wife tells the truth and what her explanation is, if any, I've not ruled out some form of counselling. But at the moment, I think divorce is inevitable unless she changes her attitude drastically. And then finally, number 6, contact a lawyer and prepare for divorce if it comes to that. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for the time you took to express your support and share advice. Well, from my perspective, I think those 6 points are perfect. I couldn't suggest anything else. I think they're ideal. Now, before we get into the first official update, we have a couple more points that OP has raised, I guess answering some of the common questions in the comments down below. For example, number 1, how did the ancestry results suggest I wasn't her father, the initial child? OP says, my family is entirely Irish, no relatives outside of Ireland other than my immediate family. And I even have the stereotypical red hair. My daughter's ancestry results showed nothing from the British Isles or Western Europe or even Northern Europe. That's what set off alarm bells, but it's by no means conclusive, hence the paternity tests. Secondly, which two children share the same father? My two eldest daughters share the same father. 3. How did your wife conceive your children? Our eldest daughter was not planned. All the others were. Each time we conceived several months after we started trying. Our first 3 planned children were both our ideas, while she pressured me into having our youngest. She was in her late 30s and wanted one last child before it was too late, and eventually I agreed. She was conceived several months after we started trying too. And number 4, are you infertile? OP says, I don't know. I've never had a fertility test done, but the fact that none of our planned children are mine makes me think that I might be. I will have a fertility test as soon as possible. Okay, so here is the first update, posted just a few days after the original post. I've received a lot of messages and comments asking about an update, and countless remind me comments. I'm unsure how they work, but I assume they are also after an update. I will post an update, but it will not be anytime soon. This entire mess will take a long time to, well, make any sense out of. I don't know when I'll post an update, but it will be weeks from now at a minimum, if not months. But I promise it will come eventually. Once again, thanks for the tremendous support that everyone has shown me. And OP did not fail to deliver on his promise. March the 1st, 2020, almost 1 year after the original post, we got this final update. I've been debating whether or not to post an update because nothing was ever resolved. I decided I would post it here in case anyone is still waiting for one. I apologize for not updating early when I promised I would. My kids and I confronted their mother shortly after making that Reddit post. It really didn't go well. I think the prospect that no one believed her finally hit home because she completely broke down and apologized profusely, but refused to explain herself or anything that would give myself peace of mind. For the next few weeks, we barely said a word to each other. I was hoping she was thinking it over, and I expected her to eventually sit me down and explain herself. I figured she was so far deep in a lie that got out of control, and she needed time to think things over. That's a very good point, because I guess she's been lying to your face for over 30 years. That lie that you are her children's father has been her life for 30 years. That's going to take some getting used to. I'm not trying to excuse it at all, but let's be literal and honest here. If you've been living a lie for over 30 years, you probably can't just snap out of it immediately. But OP continues. Nope. I came home one evening to find that she had unalived herself by overdosing. Oh my goodness me. So I lost the love of my life, and I'll never know what mistakes she'd made. I really wish I could go back in time and forget about it all. Whatever mistakes she made, I honestly wanted to work through it, and now I'm just riddled with guilt that I pressed her for an answer. The worst part of this ordeal was watching my kids work so hard to keep me together after having lost their mother. Anyway, please tell your family you love them while you have the chance. Well, I've got to say, I really was not expecting that ending. That ultimately is just very sad. No matter what I say or what anyone thinks about this woman's clear infidelity, I think we can all probably accept now that she was cheating and was almost definitely living a lie for, as I said, over 3 decades. Anyone that's ever in a position that they feel the need to do what she did is ultimately incredibly sad, no matter what she did or what happened to her to make her come to that decision. Awful, really. Yeah, a very dark ending to an extremely sad story, and ultimately the person I feel the worst for is OP, because not only has he found out that 4 of his 5 kids aren't his, I don't know, did we find out if the 5th kid was his or not? I don't think we ever did. I don't know if they ever did a paternity test there. Maybe all of his kids weren't his, who knows. But he's also lost the love of his life, as he said. It seems crazy for us to sit here and think, oh, how can you ever be with someone that, you know, lied to your face for 30 years? But ultimately, he said they had a good relationship and he was in love. He is probably gonna be riddled with guilt for the rest of his life. It's not his fault, and I don't think he should be, but yeah, he's always gonna have those thoughts, isn't he now? Did I press my wife too much? he'll never actually know either, well, both the reasons why she did the things that she did, or if she actually did them for sure. Because without like a confession, he won't ever 1,000,000,000% know that she was cheating on him, or, you know, that the paternity tests were 1,000,000% right. I mean, obviously we can say that they are, but he probably will have those lingering doubts. I don't know. Ultimately, just a very, very sad story. Get your comments in down below. Did you expect that ending? I mean, I doubt anyone did. Wow. I cannot imagine the emotions that OP is going through and is probably still going through. Also, that update came in March 2020, just before the pandemic. So he went through all of that before the pandemic, then went into the pandemic. I mean, what a few years for that family. My word. But there we go. That is our /best of Redditor updates.